Hi. I know I haven't been here in a while, and I want to explain. Um, you don't know how hard it is for me to even make this video, my first one, but things are getting better. Not long ago, after I made my last video, I ended up in the hospital again with a dramatic lack of salt or sodium in my system. Uh, they measure this in I think the range is between 1400 and 1700. My range was 16 and 17. So I ended up in the hospital for a while for that. And when I had come out, or actually in the hospital, and then when I came out, I just fell into a dramatic depression. I had been updating uh, people on my GoFundMe page, but I was literally unable to make a video. I was unable to do most things. Uh, it was a chore to get out of bed. It was a chore to shower. It was a chore to feel any joy. Even though I have so much to feel joyous about, my head would just keep on going to negative thoughts, medical issues constantly. I'm just sick of having medical issues. The low sodium is systematic with MS. Constant medical debt. It's always battering me, and it's always me trying to negotiate with either a test lab or a doctor's office, a payment plan. It's constantly, and I just got tired. I just got so tired of it. I just couldn't face it anymore. And that's not me, in essence. Um, I'm usually quite positive, and I have been for a number of years. Um, but my therapist and I, first of all, came up with a pretty solid reasoning why this was happening. And then we came up and formulated a plan. This really started to take root just right after I testified against my uncle in federal court, where he got sentenced to 8 years. And I had to let the court know that everything that I had experienced, and I mean everything, and that was traumatic. And I didn't realize how traumatic. I initially felt good about it. I felt good that I was getting closure on something. I felt good that he was off the streets and not able to harm any more children. And I felt good because I felt like I got payback, which is probably not the healthiest thing. But that's where it really started to take hold of me. And my therapist and I have been doing quite a bit of work. I mean, intense, good work. It was even enough to get me to make this video here. And that took a lot of doing. We narrowed down two things that I really enjoy, that make me happy in my life, that give me pleasure. Well, actually, three things. The first thing is my son, that is my life to me. And as many of my viewers probably know, he's right now in the middle of the most intense Naval Special Forces training that there is in the world. And he's doing very well in that. He recently went through something that's called Hell Week, which is just absolute murder. And maybe I'll share that with another day, but not too much because I can't. I like making videos. That was the second thing that we came up with. And so we came up with a plan that I'm going to make uh, 10 videos in 30 days, or one every 3 days, or two every 6. We'll see how we get that. I'm going to try. My goal is to make one video every 3 days. Now, I have a couple stories that I want to read that people sent me in, so I'm going to start with that. as long as it's not too triggering to me. And from what I saw, it's not. I can only be really triggered by something that's pertained to me. That's something that's happened to me. And so I'll get to those first, and that'll help me get at least a boost start and into a rhythm. And the third thing that we identified that I like quite a bit is photography. So I'm going to take a picture a day. We've agreed on that, and that's a pretty good solid plan. It doesn't have to be a beautiful stop art photograph. It can just be anything at all. Just to do one photograph a day. Just to do one video every 3 days. That's a start. I've also been on medication for the last couple months. And a couple weeks ago, we upped it, we doubled it. And that seems to be helping. I am not a big fan of medication for treating that, except depression is a mental illness. I mean, it is. There's no way to talk around it. And it's devastating. And it does need medication sometimes. So I'm not ashamed of it. And I'm happy and it's working. Maybe soon when things get more in a groove, I can wean off of it. We'll see at that time. But right now is what I need. And it's what I'm going to do. Because I'm starting to get a hint that it's working. I'm making this video, which is a huge jump for me. And I don't know how to explain it. You know, you would think that, hey, just making a video, right? Open up my computer and talk into the screen like I've done thousands of times before, or hundreds. So it should come naturally for me. It should come easy. And I couldn't get there. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. There were days I would make excuses that I wasn't feeling well and I would stay in bed all day. And some of those times where I wasn't feeling well, like when I just got out of the hospital, I was just feeling horrible. Then there was a day where I could barely walk. I was feeling terrible on that. So but there's a lot of days where I could have gotten out of bed and I wasn't. And that was frightening to me. And the more I became frightened, the more compounded it felt. It would be stacked on one failure or one thing I didn't do on top of another, on top of another, on top of another. And pretty soon, you know, you can't even do this. You can't even make a video. Yeah, it was rough. It was horrible. So that's where we are. That's my plan. And that's my plan. I'm going to stick to it because it's going to pull me out of this completely. And I'm heading out of it now. And I thank you so much for all your letters, for all your well wishes. I really do sincerely appreciate that. It's just so nice to know that you're cared about, you're thought of. It really is. You know, another thing is since my son's been in training, right, I haven't been able to see him. And I used to see my son very regularly. And we used to spend time and share things with. And I don't have that. So that was just like just another added benefit, right? So that's the plan. That's the plan. Picture a day. And I was a pretty good photographer. So I'll put some thought into it and have meaning behind it because I really do like art. And one video at least every 3 days. 10 a month. I think I'll be able to exceed that, but I'm just going to hold on to one every 3 days and be happy with that. And that'll be my goal, and I'll meet that goal. Again, thank you so much for everyone who sent me good wishes and nice thoughts. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Thank you again so much. I'm going to see you quite soon. No more than 3 days, right? So thank you for paying attention and all your nice words. I really appreciate it. I'm wishing you peace today.